called Stardust, and it's designed by Wendy Shepard, and it's a free download from the Benartex website. I have a link to that in the description below the video. The dark chains that go across here, those dark chains are in the corners of 10 blocks. There's a total of 20 blocks. So 10 blocks have the dark chains, and 10 blocks have the chains that correspond to the accent color of the block. On page 2, you have your fabrics from A to K, and A to H are accent colors, and J is an accent color. K is your binding. And the sample in the pattern is done in shades of blue, and the fabrics are here. But I wanted to have an assortment of fabrics. So I chose which fabrics go where, and I chose the black fabric to go in the chains across the quilt. And there are 2 blocks that have the black fabric, so I wrote that down there. And I'll show you where to find that over here. So I wrote down, so my fabric A is black, fabric B is red, fabric C is peach, and so forth, all the way down. I just wrote down the color of the fabric that corresponds to the fabric letter. If you look at the bottom of page 3, this is actually step 7, but I'm going to show you what it looks like here. This is block BA, and what that means, it's color B, and along with fabric color A, in my case is the black chain. So BA means this is fabric B, the main fabric, and the chains in the corners are fabric A, which is the dark one. And if you look here, it's the block F, and you make 2 of those. And this does not have an A in it, so all the colors are the accent colors. The chains are from the accent. Down here, block B is the same thing. It's 1 color, including the chain blocks in the corner, and it says to make 2 of those. This is E block, so it's all 1 color. A block is all 1 color. And block FA means F, fabric F, is the accent color, and A are the chains. So it makes a little more sense when you see what's going on. Here on page 2, the chart has the amount of fabric you need and the cutting instructions. And you're going to cut strips, and then you're either going to cut the strips into squares or rectangles. What I did was I just started with fabric A and did all my cuts, and I kept fabric A separate. Go down next to fabric B, do all your cuts, and keep those separate. These are the pieces you'll cut for the blocks that have the black chain corners. For cutting the fabric, you have several options. You can use your rotary cutter with your rulers and cut your strips and then subcut those into squares or rectangles. The Stripology ruler works really well because you can use it to cut the strips, then you can turn the strips lengthwise and cut your squares or your rectangles that you need, and that goes pretty fast. There are also several different ways to use the AccuQuilt to cut your squares and rectangles in strips. Now I've listed those on in the description below the video, also listed those on my blog. The cutting for this quilt is very, very easy. After everything was cut out, all the fabrics were cut, I went through and pieced all of my dark chain units. There's a total of 40 of these units. And the reason I did that is they'll all be pieced when you're ready to start piecing your other fabrics. Once you finish piecing fabric A, you'll have 2 of these blocks, and you'll have all you need of these. The instructions for piecing the corner chain units are steps 1 through 3 in the instructions, and they're very well written. It even shows you the pressing directions. The next thing you'll piece are the middle sections, and that's the next instructions from step 4 through step 6. And there are 4 of these middle sections per block. The instructions on the pattern show you how to use the stitch and flip method, where you draw a diagonal line, you stitch on the line, and then you trim off the excess here. And you can do it that way. I'm going to show you how to use the folded corner clipper to do that, And I'm also going to show you a way to use glue to hold the pieces together until you can stitch them. Take your 4.5-inch accent square and 2.5-inch background square, and you're going to put right sides together and in one of the corners. And you take your folded corner clipper, and I do have a video on using this tool, and there's going to be a link at the top of this video to show you that. You're going to line up the top edge, this side edge, the 2.5-inch mark, and this little bitty mark here. And then we're going to cut it. Before you lift up your ruler, I'm going to show you how I use this Roxanne's glue based. You can use any basting glue you want. This has a nice little tip on it that just gives you a little bit of glue on each one. You just need to baste it in place. So now I'm going to move this ruler down just a little bit, but I'm not going to take it off completely because I want the pieces of the fabric to stay where they are. I use the tip of the glue to pick up the top layer of fabric and hold it back. Then I'm going to put several little dots of glue right along this edge here. You don't need a lot. You can see the little dots of glue there. And then just let go of this and just tap it with your finger. That's all you need to do. Then slide this off. And as you're working on the other ones, this will dry completely and the fabric won't go anywhere. So you can just take this and go straight to your machine. Do that for all 4 of your 4.5-inch accent fabrics. And next we'll take and do the same thing with our 2.5-inch by 4.5-inch rectangle and use the 2.5-inch square of your accent fabric. Place it on one side like this. Use the folded corner clipper, just put it in place. Cut off the edge. Slide this down slightly out of the way. Use your glue. Pick up the top layer and put a few little drops of glue on the edge and tap it in place. And you'll do that for all 4 of your rectangles. Now just continue following the instructions. You're going to add another square to each side of your squares and your rectangles. You'll get these 2 units. And continue with the instructions for sewing the middle unit, following the pictures and the instructions. And after you do that, just go ahead and assemble your block. Once all the blocks are made, the very last page shows you how they're laid out. Like this is block BA, block E, and so on. And I set mine the same exact position so the colors would come out right. After the blocks are done, you're going to add sashing between the blocks and the rows, and then sashing and cornerstones between the rows. Then you'll add your border. And it's very easy quilt to piece, and the instructions are very well written. Good luck with your project, and thank you for watching.